Good morning, everyone. So, what's today? Today's Friday, the 20th, and this is my morning voice. So I've really been, I've just been so busy lately, and I really want to get back into doing videos. And what I realized going through all my videos this past month, because my phone's been freaking out, so I was trying to save everything off of it. I did a really great job of filming everything, but I didn't do a really good job uploading everything. So there will be a stream of videos coming your way that will just kind of be everything all at once. But I want to have that year, cataloged and everything. I'm not a morning person, and it's like, what time is it? 6? Oh, it's shameful. 6:49, and I'm still not myself. But anyway, this is going to be, I really kind of didn't want to do this, but I just feel very, very strongly that I'm supposed to. So, brief note. I have been, I've, been a follower of Jesus since I was about 3. And, I've been through a lot of stuff in my life. I live in this nice, this nice house, and we have a dog, and everything seems kind of normal. But I've been through some stuff, and I feel like with all the things that I've been through in my life, I think it's been for a reason. I've been through, such emotional lows and such, circumstantial lows. And I feel like it's my responsibility, really, to share what I've been through. And that's, I no longer feel like I need to prove anything to anybody. I don't feel the need to, convert people to my way of thinking. What I do feel is that if someone has been searching their whole life for truth, that truth will somehow find them. Because that is what God does. God doesn't leave people who want Him out in the cold. He never will do that. But I certainly don't want to force my view down anybody's throat, and I don't want someone who is not, feeling called, or they don't have that longing in their soul for God. I'm not going to waste my time talking to that person. Not that because they're not worth talking to, but because I'm talking about in a religious context, or not religious. I hate religion. But in a spiritual context, if someone wants God, they will have been longing for Him secretly, even, I think, their whole life. And they might be the most evil person in the world, but that doesn't take away this tiny little desire for God. And if when the time is right, God will just kind of illuminate their it really is like being blind and then all of a sudden seeing everything. That's why we have that song, I once was blind and now I see. So I really strongly feel like I'm supposed to put my story out there. And, people can take it or leave it, you know what I mean? It's not, I really truly do feel like, I absolutely, my family doesn't like it, but I absolutely adore the movie The Matrix. And I feel very much like that construct is real in a sense. Not maybe that we are, I always say, it's not that the spoon doesn't exist, it's that the spoon doesn't matter. So if you have watched The Matrix, there's that scene where Neo goes to the Oracle, and there's the little boy there, right? And he's like, the spoon doesn't exist. Well, I say that the spoon does exist in a sense, okay? Because we are living, if you look at, I love quantum physics. I am not a physicist. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a mathematician. I am I'm a writer and an imaginative, creative person, but I still see the absolute paramount importance of science in everyday life, because we do live in a world with physical rules and things like that. However, a lot of times you'll run into these things where you have the paranormal, or even just simple things like mind over matter. And why does that exist? Well, when you look at quantum physics, the world doesn't the world follows a certain set of rules, but not when you look at it super close. Okay, so, and I wrote a note on this. Hang on, let me get my notes, because I can't hold all this stuff in my brain. My brain's full of, choreography and children running around, and I can't hold thoughts in my brain as long as I used to. So I wrote this at 3:50 in the morning on, I don't know what day this was. I woke up at like 2 and I couldn't go back to sleep, so I just decided that I'd just write down my thought notes. So I'm going to read this, and I might do another video on this later, but this was my thought and I want to finish it. So the virtual reality we live in is a reflection of the emotional world, not the other way around. When one looks up close at quantum reality, the physical world ceases to behave as it should. It only behaves as it should according to the story of our supposed reality when we are looking at it. So there's like a, it's almost as if someone said, okay, in this world, this is the science for this world. So what if we were going to make up science for like our own, let's say we're making a computer game or something, and we want to have, like we gave them certain chemicals within that world, and, those chemicals had certain reactions, and we set it up that way. So in their world, those chemicals do make those reactions, but it's actually a computer world. So does it exist or not? Well, it does, in the sense that those people who are living in that computer world have their reality, and we set up the science to work that way. So the science actually does work that way. But if those people were somehow able to hack deeper into their, reality and realize, oh my gosh, I'm in a computer game, if they were, sentient enough, I think that's what we're starting to get with quantum physics. We're starting to realize, okay, wait a second. Our physical reality is not actually real in the sense that there is, it's not as physical as we would like to think of it as. Instead, it is a reflection of our inner world. So, what is more real, your dream life, or your waking world? Well, the dream world that you experience, and this is a whole other thing, but people don't dream enough. Anyway, so with your dream world, you have this, intense internal world that's all of your, a lot of your emotions, or, leftover thoughts, or all these different things. And if you are, if you are a person who is really thoughtful, and you have a lot of, really good inner life, your dreams usually are, quite rich. And if you don't, then, a lot of times your dreams don't really mean anything to you. But your dream world can be very real in the sense that you're sorting out different emotions and things like that. And so sometimes, the dream world, because there's no physical reality to deal with, is more real in the sense of your thought life, right? Because it's just your subconscious, and there's no physical constructs really to get in the way of anything. If you're in a dream, sometimes you can, you just go from place to place, and there's no like physical interruptions, right? But that's not to say that the physical world doesn't exist. It does, and but it's deciding which one is more real. I don't know if that's really making that much sense, but the point that I'm trying to get across is that we have a physical reality, but we also have an internal world, and that internal world is actually more real than the physical reality. Your thoughts and your thought life are more of a real substance, like your sentience is more of a real substance than the world around you. Your sentience, I believe, will never go away. That's, what some people call it the soul, or whatever, that energy will never be destroyed. It's, once something is put in motion, it will just continue. But the physical world, that could go away. I mean, atoms and, all that stuff, that could just vanish, but your sentience, I don't think could. So anyway, that was, now I'm totally lost where I was going with this. Anyway, I'll finish reading these notes, and then I'll try to get back to where I was. So, suppose we granted exploratory sentience to creatures in a video game, like what I just said. The world might have a type of science that they could observe, but that science would not be real outside of that game. It would be true in one sense, but not in another. They wouldn't know the true science behind the computer unless someone gave them hack knowledge into the game. This could be considered another dimension. So, when people talk about other dimensions, think about there's sub-levels of dimensions, right? So you have, even in our reality, we have like the real world, and then you have virtual reality. So virtual reality is a sub-reality of, the real world that we experience. It's not actually real, and it's a lower level of experience. And then I believe that there's higher levels of experience. So, I'm sure you've heard of like the 2D, 3D thing, right? So, you have a 2D creature, and then all of a sudden they're forced into a 3D world. And so they could experience things in a different way, right? And we know that there's like, fourth dimension and these different, arenas of experience, which we can't access yet because we're not designed to fit those constructs. But I think eventually we will be able to experience all those constructs of the higher dimensions. Where was I? Okay, our science, though functional in our current reality, may be a little more than a narrative within a virtual universe. So we do have a physical reality, and there's a narrative that we're following, right? There's a narrative of our science, our anatomy, our biology, all that stuff. But there's something that is beyond that. There's something that's beyond the narrative that is another world that we can't access yet. Just as, if you're playing, like, let's say The Sims, in their computer world, there's laws and there's rules and all those things. But there's also another world that's our world. We're kind of dictating their universe, but they can't access our, universe. But let's say we gave The Sims, sentience, and then all of a sudden we could somehow communicate with them and make them aware of our existence, and they could be communicating with us. And that's what I think, that's really what I think that God is. And I'm not saying that we're like actually in a computer game like the Matrix. That's what I was talking about. I'm not saying that we're like physically actually in a computer game, but I mean, when you look at quantum physics, it's pretty much, we do live in a hologram or holographic-ish type thing. So what does that even mean? That means, everybody who's been, subscribing to science for all of their reality, well, all of a sudden, what if that you learn that that's just a narrative that you've been following? That's not even real. The real thing is your thoughts, your emotions, morality, these things that we can't, that are not physically tangible. Those things are the lasting things, and then all of this is a narrative, and there's another world that will be physical, but we can't access it yet. So what does that mean for those people? That's a really big question, because if you've been taught, well, everything that I believe is what I can see and touch and taste and feel, well, all of that is actually not real. And then what do you do with that? That's a huge blow to people who've been, only subscribing to science. And I'm not saying that science doesn't have bearing on reality. I believe that it does. I think that science is it's a beautiful narrative that is so complicated that it could only be put in place by someone who had intelligence that is, significantly higher than any being that's in this reality, right? So, if someone has come up with that story, then, they have a huge high intelligence, and that should tell us that there is something else that's out there. So, I'm sorry, it's early in the morning, and I don't function very well early in the morning. Was there anything else I wrote on here? So I have a bunch of notes on all these videos that I want to do, but just about the spoon thing, what I was saying was, the spoon does exist in this construct, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because it isn't really there. It's just part of the construct. So it's real in the sense that you have to deal with it in this reality. If someone hits you with a spoon, you're going to feel it, right? But at the end of the day, like, all the stuff that's in the world doesn't matter. That's why, like, physical possessions just don't really matter all that much to me. Like, I'm not saying that money doesn't matter. I'm not saying that, like, you want to have clothes and you want to have, I think a lot of times what people do is they try to live in one or the other. Like, they'll try to be all physical material, and if you are only about your physical possessions, then you're going to be miserable, because everything that's really important is stuff that is non-physical, like it's your emotions, it's your thoughts, it's your relationships with people, it's your inner purpose, your ideologies, all those things, your basic beliefs. Those things are not tangible. Like you could write them down, you can, explain how you feel about them, but they're not physical, material things. So if you're trying to just be a physical being, you're going to be very miserable because you're not meant to be that. And then some people try to be all like non-physical matter. You see that with, like Buddhists or, what I would say like hyper spiritual people. They try to deny the existence of the physical reality, and they're miserable too. If you look at, the horror stories of, Catholics who shut themselves away, or they would try to, like, there's stories of people who'd beat themselves, and trying to get rid of their physical, sense of pain or whatever. Those people are denying the narrative that we are like designed to live in. You're trying to access something that you don't have access yet to. So you better learn how to deal and learn in the physical reality, and learn how to take care of yourself, and have property and all those things. That's part of the game that we're in, and that's part of the narrative. And once you learn you have to learn how to operate within that system, but also realize that there's something beyond it. So if it's just like it's like a training phase. If you go to like a workplace or whatever, and you're in a training and you act like the training is all that ever will be, well, then you're missing the point. Like, the point is you will eventually be taking that knowledge and you'll be, applying it elsewhere. But you can't pretend like the training doesn't matter. I mean, it does, because it's preparing you for the other thing. So it's, having things in context. Anyway, so long story short, I really feel like I need to tell my story about why I do believe in God, and believe in, I specifically believe in Jesus. I believe in him as a physical person, and there's a lot of different things on that. But to not be not sad, but to not be not apologize for what I believe to be true, and not to be afraid of what people think, because I've never been like that, but I've felt that more like in the past year or something like that. Like, well, do I really want people to know what I really think? And the truth is, when I've explained, the way that I view the world or whatever to people, a lot of times people, they might not agree, but they're always thankful to know what I really, what I really think, if you say it in a kind way. And also, there's people who really do want to know the truth, and the truth is not easy to find nowadays. There's so much confusion going around. There's confusion about things that we, have for centuries thought to just be, basic truths. Like, you just take the gender issue, we have for centuries believed that there is man and woman. And that's not to say that in antiquity there haven't been, there's always this resurgence, right before a society collapses, that, the confusion about gender and stuff like that. But, for a long time, like, especially we in America, we've had male and female, and there's been the certain, roles that those are, ascribed to and everything. And that's just the way that your society functions. And now that's being called into question. And then you have, all different kinds of things being called into question, morality being called into question. There's, the whole, the sexuality thing, all just so many things that we have for a long time said, this is good, this is bad, that's the way we roll. Now there's all this confusion, and so I think young people nowadays just don't know which way is up. People are telling you to just kind of do whatever and follow your every little whim. And that's just so dangerous. You don't tell like a 3-year-old, just follow your every little whim, and really at the end of the day, we are all these little children who just happen to get old and wrinkly. You know what I mean? You're still, you don't have all knowledge. You don't know everything. And I'm not pretending that I have all knowledge or know everything, but these are, I believe what has been tested, tried, true for centuries. And, I want to share that with people and remind them that there are things that are solid and real and true. When you have no boundaries, everything is frightening. Like, imagine if you were, on Imagine if you were on a playground that stretched, I don't remember, someone gave this example, but I don't remember who it was, so I'm sorry, this is not mine. But imagine if you were on a playground that stretched out for miles and miles and miles, and you couldn't find your mother anywhere, you couldn't, your dad wasn't around, you had, like, there were just endless amounts of kids, and it just went on and on and on and on, but you couldn't get home. Okay, you couldn't get home to structure, you couldn't get home to like your bedtime, all those different things that maybe you don't like so much. But when you're, a kid, you have to have that structure to make you feel safe, or, even to make you just productive, right? So if you were just on a never-ending playground, you just played all the time, and it's going on and on, you can't find your way home, that becomes frightening. And then, inversely, if you never play and it's all structure, then that's not healthy either. There's either this kind of, even if you think about the construction of your body, if you were a free-flowing material like water, that might be very freeing in one sense, but in the other sense, you could not do the things that you can do in a physical body, right? You couldn't go and, you couldn't go to the store. You would just kind of ooze all over the floor, and you couldn't experience what it would be like to dance or to, sit and read a book, because you wouldn't have that construct, right? So, but, if you're bound up, like if someone, ties you up to a chair and you're stuck in a certain place, well, that's not good, because then you're overly bound. So there's this balance of being, having a construct, but also being able to move through the world. And I believe that when you are a spiritual person, not a religious person, because religion is a bunch of it's a bunch of I wouldn't even say rules. Rules can be helpful, but it's rituals that will, in essence, bind your conscious, bind your reality, and make you less creative, less able to function in the real world, because you're tied to a chair, basically. And then the other thing that's going on nowadays is just like, woohoo, everybody just be free, willy-nilly, and just do whatever you want. Well, then you're losing the way that we interact with our everyday life. You can't just run around and do whatever you want, otherwise there's chaos, right? So you have to have a balance of both. So anyway, this will be, I would like to do this. I don't know if this is going to be an every morning thing. I don't have a lot of time. The bummer is I don't have a lot of time. But I would like to do something in the mornings, where, we just either answer people's questions that they have. I would like to just go through, like, just the Bible, with no other, I'm really not into, like following a bunch of other people and what they say about it. Just look at the Bible for yourself. And I'm not saying that commentaries can't be helpful and things like that, but people get carried away, and, another human being is just another human being. They have their opinion, and, you look at things that have been tested, tried, true, don't just follow after willy-nilly after what somebody says. Was there anything else? I don't know. Just, this will be a quest for truth. And I think there's just a lot of things that are just not very well explained, just not very well put together. So yeah, anyway, that's, how long has this video been? Oh Lord, 22 minutes. I'm so sorry. That's a long time. So, I am getting ready for the day. Yeah, I will see you guys all later, and thank you for watching. I really am excited about this. So, there's always that tentative part where you're like, oh, I don't know if I should, put myself out there or whatever, but I'm so tiny in the spectrum of life, but if I can give someone the truth, then that makes it worth it. And, I don't care if people don't like me because of it. People have not liked the truth for a long time, and I don't care. So, yeah. So I will see you guys all later. Have a fabulous day, and I will see you soon. Please let me know if you have any questions. You can put a question down in the comment section, I think, or just do the message thing. I don't really know how that will actually work, because I'm not constantly checking my messages, but I think it'll notify me. So anyway, but if you have a question or there's something you want to address, then please let me know, and we will walk through it together. And I am totally open to people having different opinions than me. That's wonderful and fine. I'm just explaining what the truth that I have learned, and if other people don't agree with that, that's okay. This is, everybody's on a different journey. I do believe that there's one path that is, successful, but I'm not going to drag other people onto the same path as I am. I'll just show the way, and if other people want to walk on it, then nobody can stop them. You know what I mean? This is just getting them onto the path that they're supposed to be going onto. So, all right. Well, have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.